Hello, everybody at the Propellify Innovation Festival. I hope your day is going well so far. It's been really incredible to see how things have unfolded. Obviously, this is a very different format for us. We're used to being in person, and now we basically have a live television studio. But in case you missed it, Al Roker's discussion was very real, very honest. I thought very provocative. You have Kathleen Griffith in that panel discussing women's issues and investing in women companies. Also very inspiring. The day overall, and meeting the innovator, the women innovators from the New Jersey Chamber of Commerce finalists with Carly Graham Garcia, also really inspiring. And if you watch the chat, which I've been doing quite a bit of, there's a lot of people saying, wow, I didn't know that. Yes, this person's right. Oh, a lot of men chiming in about things they weren't as clear on. And so I wanted to reflect on kind of how we've gotten here, where we're going, why we've leaned in on this theme. I talked earlier today about the first person to ever sit me down and say, I think you're onto something, when it was very early days of the meetup, was my friend Dave Sorin, who's a partner now at McCarter and English. And they've been a supporter. He's been a personal supporter since day one. They've been a financial supporter, which from day one. I think both of those are equally necessary. I want to bring Dave on just to talk a little about his experience of the pandemic, as well as why today's Better Together theme is so important. Dave Sorin, thrilled to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here, Aaron. Thank you for having me, and thank you and all the folks from Propellify and Tech United for making sure that we bring this to the community year after year. This morning has been not only educational, but actually personally inspiring. And maybe this sounds strange from an unearned, privileged white guy, but there's so much that we have to do, members of this community who enjoy that privilege, to make sure that these opportunities exist for everybody.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's why we've leaned into this theme. One of the benefits, I talked about this earlier as well, of going digital is we can spread the content across a week, right? And Amika just mentioned this is really propelling me to the next level with all the great tips and information. That's exactly the reason we're doing this, and also to inspire people about how they can make change. I mean, what are some of the things that you've noticed in the business community? How has McCarter reacted to the pandemic? How do you think where you see the business community reacting to the pandemic? What's been your experience?
It's a great question. And, lawyers generally thrive on the interaction, the collaboration among colleagues, peers, our clients. And so going remote is painful for everybody, but it really required us to reinvent how we communicate. And McCarter was awesome. We went from a 9-office law firm literally to a 700-office law firm over the course of a weekend in mid-March. Yeah. None of us expected that we would be remote for as long as we have been, and maybe for months to come. And so it was really important for us to ensure that the touches, the connectivity continued. So one of the things we did in our venture capital emerging growth company practice was establish a daily Zoom call with everyone on our team, whoever could make it. And it was a way to ensure that, we're not just on the phone, we're not just jabbering or using email or Slack. We're actually looking at each other and communicating, not exactly the way we do in person, but as close as possible.
Now, I'm sure we all miss that in-person meeting, but it's not the worst second place. But go ahead, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No problem at all. One of the things that I learned, and I think many of my colleagues learned over a course of months, was that Zoom and other programs and solutions like that are truly important, but they don't provide this kind of spontaneity of communication associated with just, walking in the hall of your office or, meeting in a conference room. And so one of the other things we started doing was just opening up Zoom rooms, no invitation required, just come on in the way you might pop your head into somebody's office. And if they were on the phone or they were talking to somebody else, you could explain that to them the way you do in regular interpersonal communication. Yeah. And we found that the connectivity increased as a result of that. We've done other things like having remote cocktail parties and remote lunches. We did our summer associate program entirely remotely this year. And our summer associates all thought that they got to know a lot of people in the firm. So I was really proud of that. And look, this is no perfect substitute, but we have to deal with the cards we have, so to speak. And I think we've done a good job of it.
Yeah.
The other thing, of course, is that our clients are suffering. So we've had to deal with that as well. And we have to be more understanding of client situations. And we all know the impact on the venture capital community and how deal flow has been affected, et cetera. So it's been a challenge, but in every challenge, as they say, there are some great opportunities.
And this is the community that's going to take advantage of that opportunity. I do think that there's a lot of upside in the cultural shift. We work with some large corporations at Tech United, and if I'd mentioned, which we had done to some of them, hey, why don't we jump on a video call? Because we were doing these kinds of things before this. There was that, I'm not so sure we could do a conference call, or more likely, why don't you meet me in my office, which takes half the day sometimes. And so I do think there's an upside here. Do you think that, I know you work probably significantly more than 40 hours a week, but just going on the traditional 40-hour work week, once we can safely all get back together, do you think that you will work in an office whatever hours, Monday through Friday, or you think that there's a hybrid model forever?
That's a great question. I do think that the pandemic didn't create these new trends. I think what the pandemic did was put a highlight or a spotlight on trends that were already in place, but I think this has accelerated trends.
Yeah.
You and I have talked about this. We have long said place matters less than ever before, and the pandemic has proven that out.
Yeah.
Now, I don't believe we will ever go strictly remote, because there truly is a benefit in in-person communication, collaboration, et cetera. But I'm confident that the increased efficiencies associated with being able to communicate this way on a moment's notice, rather than traveling, from, especially in and around New Jersey, right?
It's where a big state, a lot of traffic.
Get on the roads.
Yeah.
I think there's an efficiency to this that is very much appreciated. And it's appreciated, in fact, by some of the people we heard speak this morning.
Yeah, right? Let's shift to that, because we only have a little bit of time left. By the way, make sure you check out Dave's keynote later this afternoon at 2:00. We have a Women in Tech Forum. We've got a discussion with Forbes and the Cocoa. We've got the importance of community banking with Cross River Bank for a technology bank, which is a really interesting conversation. But why is this topic of better together, why does that resonate so much with you?
It resonates in many ways. One is, I'm a little older than you, Aaron. I'm a child of the Great Society, right? You're going to hear that in my keynote. What I discovered in all of this, and later than I should have, is that when I lived in a world in which civil rights and women's rights and gay rights were something that just was sort of standard. And I thought there was all this amazing forward progress. And my own life is an example of how, as Ruth Bader Ginsburg has said, in one generation, you can go in this country in dramatic fashion and move forward. What I didn't appreciate is that my experience is so different than the experience of my women colleagues, my brown and black colleagues, my gay colleagues, who don't enjoy the same level of privilege that I do. And what the pandemic showed me, especially in light of the political environment in which we're in, seeing what's happened in racial injustice, watching as women's rights are being questioned more and more, we all have to take action. And you'll hear that in my speech. This is really a call to action. And we cannot leave our women and our black and brown and our gay colleagues and people of other races and ethnicities. It's up to us. That's because right. It's up to the people who currently have that privileged status to actually take the steps that will help. It is not simply a matter of how Black and brown people, for example, can have success in a white world. The world has to be made truly colorblind and gender blind, and blind to sexual orientation and preference issues. Without that, it's been a failed movement in so many respects, and that's caused me to really want to act. And I'm so proud of the law firm, which has created a social justice project this summer to actually try to dismantle, some of these systemic and structural issues and combat inequality.
I couldn't agree with you more. Unfortunately, we are out of time, but I think it's a perfect segue. And by the way, hello to the people. We have people from the Philippines, from Nigeria, from Dublin, Ireland, from Arizona, from Cleveland, from Savannah, from all over the place. We're watching the chat. I saw you, Amika, and we're watching you. I saw Bonnie and everyone else. But Dave perfectly teed up the next session. And make sure you keep jumping into that chat. Drives the connectivity with your peers. The next session, Equalathons, are the new hackathons. Dave, high five on the count of three. 1, 2, 3. Boom. Thank you so much for your support and your friendship. Really appreciate it.
Same to you. Thank you, Aaron, for your leadership. It's awesome.